Today in the studio, folks, as always, I got a real treat for you. Jason Duncan.
What's up?
If you guys don't know this dude, it's the real Jason Duncan on social media, therealjasonduncan.com. But basically, the real Jason Duncan, sitting here live in studio.
Right here.
Now, dude, you're a coach, speaker, podcast host, entrepreneur, founder. You got a few businesses. You're married. You got a couple kids. You're running around, living the life. All because you exited without exiting.
That's right.
So your big thing is you teach entrepreneurs how to basically live like they exited without actually exiting their business.
That's right. It's called the exit lifestyle. Just like what you're living every day, man.
Am I?
I think so. I've been hanging out with you for a couple hours. It looks like it to me.
Well, I don't know what it feels like to exit because I haven't exited any companies. But I have them set up to where there's systems in place. I know that. Is that what you teach, systems?
What's part of it? There are 4 core principles I teach, and systems is certainly one of them because you got to have it systematized. Or
Get up on that microphone. There
Boom.
You go.
I'm close.
Keep going, though. Systems is one of them. What are the other 3?
So the first one is embrace delegation. And so many entrepreneurs have this thing I call hero syndrome, where they put the cape on, they swoop in, they solve every problem, everything. They're the best salesperson, best admin, best finance, best whatever.
Sounds like me.
I know, but they stay the best and they wear the cape every day rather than embracing delegation, letting other people do it.
Well, so I got no problem embracing delegation. Otherwise, why the fuck am I paying you?
Yeah, well, but so many entrepreneurs don't do that. You see, the billion-dollar
companies. You mean
companies,
they pay a bunch of people and then do the job for them?
Exactly.
Oh.
And that's why they stay trapped.
Foolishness.
Yeah, it's the ironic prison of entrepreneurship. They end up staying prisoner to the thing that they built to give them freedom because they're not willing to let it go. They're not willing to let those things go. I talked about that in my TED Talk a couple weeks ago, and my whole talk was about you're ironically a prisoner to the thing that you wanted to set you free. You started a business to get away from the 9 to 5 and you end up with the 24/7. You wanted to be your own boss, but you became your own employee. And that's why listen, the trillionaire entrepreneurs, trillion companies, $1 trillion companies, $1 billion companies, they're not hero entrepreneurs. They've broken out of the hero syndrome. So that's the first step. You got to embrace delegation. You got to get out of the hero syndrome or you're never going to be set free.
Well, I wouldn't think that's a hard thing to do. So like how many people do you run into that like can't grasp that?
Most entrepreneurs.
Foolishness.
It is.
Now, one of them systems.
Systems is one. And every business is going to need a different system and a different process. But the thing that I teach in my courses and I teach my clients most of all is the sales system, because if you can't get your sales system right, none of the other systems matter. So I teach them a sales system that can give you predictable revenue in your absence.
When you say you teach them in some sort of master class.
Yeah, I've got a group coaching cohort that I run called the Business Accelerator, and I take all my clients. I do no more than 12 entrepreneurs at a time, and we run through this program, and I show them these 4 core principles. And so when I go over, I've got 2 whole lessons I do on systems. I'm talking about sales specifically.
Why no more than 12?
I keep it small because I like the cohort model. When I did my master's work, I did a cohort at Lipscomb University in Nashville.
What the hell is a cohort?
Cohort is a group of people that are all they're normally in the same place in life trying to get to the same place together, and they use the collective wisdom of the group to get there. So rather than doing this huge class where I got 100 people that are just listening to me as a talking head, in a cohort model, everybody's working together. So we communicate between sessions, we talk between sessions, we got a private chat group that we chat and share information. So that's what the cohort model is about.
Helping each other.
Yeah.
How much does that run?
Well, that's $5,000 right now.
That's it?
Yeah, it's $5,000. My
for
marketing
what,
company is
year?
for 8 sessions.
8 sessions.
Yeah. Well, my marketing team tells me I should charge 10, but I'm at 5. So
what are sessions?
So we do 1-hour sessions every Thursday for 9 weeks. So we take this 5th week off.
Oh, so it's a 9-week deal.
9 weeks, take the 5th week off. It's kind of a break in between. So we do 4 and 4 with a break in between every Thursday morning by Zoom.
And everybody's in like Flynn.
Everybody. Well, I hope so.
So how do you know how to do all this? What business were you in that you exited?
Well, in 2010, I was an unemployed school teacher. So I spent, and we were talking pre-show about this, but I was a pastor for 13 years and got absolutely fed up with the institutional church and the whole machine running the church. I said, I can't do this. I'm not making the difference I want to make. So I went back to school, got a master's in education, thought I'm going to go teach school. I'm going to teach kids because I feel like I'm making a difference. And I did. I went and taught 8th grade American history. Absolutely loved it. Most fulfilling thing I've ever done in my life. I loved it. Well, 4 years in, I was the number one teacher in the county for my subject matter. My students were performing excellently. I was doing great, but the Great Recession caught up, and they had to let teachers go. They had to cut teachers because of budgets. Well, how do they make decisions in government? Not based on common sense. They based it on tenure. I didn't have tenure. I was the last guy hired in the building. Found myself as an unemployed school teacher. So finished out that school year and was like, what am I going to do next? So then I started a company. I was an accidental entrepreneur. I started this company, didn't know what I was doing, and stumbled into building a multi-million-dollar company. And then 7 years into that,
what kind of company was that?
It was called Energy Lighting Services. I still own it today, and we did LED lighting retrofit projects. And then I started an electrical contracting division after, a few years after I started it. But we built a great company. Inc. 5000, fastest growing privately held company in the country 2 times. Entrepreneur Magazine recognized us as one of the top entrepreneurial companies. Won lots of awards. We're doing great, but like we were talking earlier, I was trapped. I was the guy. I was the number one sales guy. I was doing everything I wasn't doing it myself because I had a great team. I've still got great employees who work for me today. As a matter of fact, my 4 VPs that work for me are rock stars. They're amazing. But I was still the hinge around which the business revolved. Everything flowed through me. And I hired a business coach for the first time in 2017. And he was the first person that said, Jason, you've built a business that really revolves around you 100%. And is that what you want? And I said, that's not really what I want, because I thought entrepreneurship was supposed to give me freedom.
Who was that dude?
His name was B.J. Howard.
B.J. Howard. Yeah. Where's he at nowadays?
He is in heaven. He passed away during COVID, man.
Bummer.
Yeah.
From COVID?
Well, who knows? He had it and he passed away. It was very, very, very sad event. I still can't believe it. But he was the one that kind of pointed out, it's like, man, you got a great business. It's growing. You're making money. Everything's good. But you have to do everything. Is that what you want? I'm like, no, that's not what I want. I didn't ever want to run a lighting company. I just needed to pay the bills because I was an unemployed school teacher, man, making $38,000 a year. And I built this multi-million-dollar company, and I thought it was great. I was making good money, but I was trapped. Like everything in the business somehow ended up trickling back to me. So I said, well, BJ, like, can I sell the company? Well, when the entrepreneur who founded the company is the number one guy at all the stuff and everything flows through him, guess what the company's worth?
Zero.
Nothing.
Well, something, but
not what it should be. Because if anybody's going to buy it, they want me, and I'm going to have to stay in it. So I said, man, I got to figure something else out. So over the course of the next 18 months, I dove deep into what does delegation look like? How do I really, really do it? And that was the first step for me.
So basically, you figured out how to get your business running without you being there.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, again, sounds intelligent. I can't believe most people would want it any other way.
Well, I think that most people wouldn't want it, but just like we were talking about working out, being in shape, most people want it, but they're not willing to go through the pain to get there. We're early and I got a bomb. That's cool.
I forgot, sometimes I forget about bombs, but that's a bomb right there.
Well, that's true.
I know.
It's true. Because as entrepreneurs, we think, well, okay, I'm making good money. I've got a good company, good product, good service, got a good team.
I don't want to screw anything up.
So I'm not willing to do it because they're afraid of the dip. Because when you start delegating stuff out and you start stepping back, there will be a dip. There's going to be a point in time pretty soon in that process that the productivity and the outcome is going to take a dive. And that's okay because you will survive it. It will come back. I remember there's a guy I hired. His name is Ricky. He's still one of my VPs, longest tenured employee. He's been with me almost 10 years. And when I hired him right out of college 10 years ago.
See, when you say 10 years and 10 years, it's almost the same.
I know. So when he came on board, I hired him to do some of the auditing stuff like lighting, counting lights in buildings and putting together projects. And he didn't know what he was doing. And I knew a lot better than he did, because I did all that stuff myself. I'd done, millions of square feet of building audits myself. Well, when I turned it over to him, there was a dip. Like he missed things. He didn't do things the right way, but I survived it. And today he's better at that stuff than I will ever be. He's great at it. And the company continues to grow in my absence.
Well, that's when it's worth something.
It is worth a lot more now than it was then.
So if anyone's listening, like that's definitely what a lot of people need to put in place, which is you create a business instead of a job.
That's right.
Because a lot of people own their jobs, but they're
job owners, not business owners.
Yeah.
And see, what I want people to become is the absentee business owner, which is what we typically think about. But I want to, rather than being an owner operator, I think people should be owner investors. You be the owner who invests in the company and lets it grow as an asset rather than something you have to do.
I don't know who wrote this, but it says, Jason is passionate about coaching entrepreneurs who want to work less and make more. Through coaching in his exclusive mastermind, the Exeter Club, he works with entrepreneurs to develop systems and processes to scale so they can live what he calls the exit lifestyle. Like this is almost a copywriter wrote it. Having complete control over their time and choices on a daily basis, as opposed to being in the weeds of business ops every day. Yep, that's true. People are buried in that shit. So why is it your mission to help these people?
Well, when you reach a certain level of success personally, there becomes a moment in time where you have to make a decision. What am I really here for? What am I doing? Am I really just wanting to build a business for the sake of building a business, or is there something greater? And so I believe that we as business owners need to understand that the business should support the lifestyle that we want to live rather than us supporting the business that we're building. And so for me, when I exited ELS, the daily operations in January 2020, of course, I didn't plan on COVID hitting and screwing up my plans. But when that happened, okay, now I did a deep dive over the year 2020 reading The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey. I'm sure everybody's familiar with that. And as a process of doing that deep dive, I did 52 videos on my YouTube channel about the points that Stephen talks about in that book. And one of the things he talks about is coming up with your personal mission statement. Like, what are you really here for? And what I discovered through that process in 2020, after I stepped away, I went through this period of an identity crisis because I had handed out a business card that said I was the president and CEO of ELS for 10 years. And now who am I? I'm not the president and CEO anymore. I still own the company, but I'm not that guy. So I had to figure out, what is my mission? Why am I really here? And what I discovered was that I should be using my gifts of teaching and leadership, which are the things I think God's given me, to help other people get the results that they want in life. And so that's what I do now. And as a coach, I think the result that entrepreneurs really want is a business that is an asset that provides passive income so they can live the life that they want.
That's what we all started it for.
Exactly. 100%.
That's what we need to do. By the way, folks, if you're thinking, man, I need to reach out to this dude, at the real Jason Duncan. That's as simple as that.
That's right.
DUNCAN. TheRealJasonDuncan.com. You also got a podcast called You Are the Host of The Root of All Success.
That's right. The Root of All Success. I started that podcast in December of 2020 as a way to interview people like you, other very successful entrepreneurs, about how they became successful. Because I have this theory.
I was on it. You guys should go listen to the episode. Was it good? I can't remember.
It was fantastic. You know what's funny about that episode? It was one of the ones that I forgot to wear my watch that day, and there was no watch, there was no clock in the room. And I don't normally time the episodes, but I like to know how long we're going. And I got about 30 minutes, I think, into your episode, and I realized I didn't have my watch on. I had no idea how long we've been talking. And I was like, oh, crap, how long are we going? But the conversation didn't flounder, kept going because you're a great guest, and it was a great episode, a little over an hour long.
Well, now it's my turn. Now I'm the host. I get to ask you the questions.
That's right.
So what made you stop being a pastor? You said it was hypocritical. What was it?
Well, I didn't say that, but I didn't like what I saw behind the scenes.
What'd you see?
Well, it became more about running and perpetuating the machine as opposed to actually doing the mission.
You mean it was like a business?
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, the churches that I were a part of weren't like the mega churches that you see today, that there's thousands and thousands of people that are, there, and there's just this huge machine. But on a smaller scale, there was this machine running in the background. The people with money were making the decisions, and We weren't serving the community in the way that I thought
The
that
people that were making the money,
that had money.
the ones that were given the money.
Yeah, they had money to hold as a leverage point if they didn't get what they liked. And that wasn't true for most people, but it was just enough.
Well, how about the collection plate?
What do you mean?
I mean, churches, they can collect some funds.
Yeah, they can. Well, and the people that put the most funds in usually get to make the decisions.
Really?
Yeah.
So if I went to church and started throwing around money, I'd be influential.
You would.
We were talking about it earlier, dude. Billionaires are influential.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to be influential in this world. The more influential you are, usually the more, better off you are.
Yeah. Well, can you make an impact without influence?
Yeah.
How?
By smashing into somebody.
You can make an accidental impact for sure. But I mean, if we really want to make an impact in this world, we want to leave it a better place. If we want to affect our families and our family trees, our community, we have to build generational wealth, not for our own purposes.
Or
but
even kick it off.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, again, dude, generational wealth, can be squandered by the very next generation. So it wouldn't have been necessarily, generational. It would have to be multi-generational. But to me, it's not about wealth. It's about the impact of, raising the standards.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think wealth is your way to do it, is a way to do it. Just like we were talking pre-show about the fact that the people that are making the influence in the world, that are running things, are the ones that have the money. They get to make those decisions.
Like Elon Musk, I would say, is one of the most influential men on the planet right now.
Mm-hmm.
Happens to be a billionaire. Look at all the billionaires. Then you start to go, oh, yeah, they're very influential. Well, that's because money gives you the power.
Right.
So even at the church level, money gives you the power.
Yeah. I mean, the Catholic Church is one of the most influential and wealthiest, richest groups of people on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Look at the influence that they have. Good or bad, look at the influence that they have.
Oh, yeah. So what does that tell us if we want to apply some of that to our businesses?
Well, I think that what we have to do is understand that we're not here for ourselves, that there should be a greater cause. And I think that that selfishness is the root of all the things that go wrong in the world. So we've got to make sure that we're in this for impact beyond our own selves. Think about this word enough. What does that mean to have enough?
Enough for what?
Yeah. Now, what does that mean? So like if I said, okay, listen, I'm married, I got 2 kids. So if I said, hey, I only want enough for me, Jason Duncan, not my wife. She can earn her own money. The kids are on their own. I'll get food stamps, whatever but I just want her, you'd look at me and go, that's terribly selfish. Well, what if I said, okay, I want enough just for me and my wife, the kids can figure it out on their own. Well, you go, what? That's kind of weird. And if I said, okay, I want enough just for the 4 of us, you'd be like, okay, gotcha. So why did adding just a couple extra people that not make me selfish? Why does stopping at the family unit when we say we only want enough for the family unit not make me selfish? Why shouldn't I be thinking about enough for my community, enough for the state, enough for the region, enough for the world?
That's right.
That's what we need to be doing for impact.
Major impact.
Exactly.
That's how you change stuff. Interesting. Mm-hmm. So you and your wife travel around in RVs?
Yeah.
I own a couple RV dealerships.
I did not know. How did I not know that about you?
A lot of people don't know that about me.
Really? Do you go RVing?
No.
Yeah. You don't like it?
Well, I mean, I've never really done it.
I love it. I camped my whole life. My wife didn't camp at all until we got married.
Camping is, in an RV is more like glamping.
That's right. You got to do it right.
Yeah, but when I was little, I'd camp, bro. Like you'd have a freaking sleeping bag. You'd tent if you're lucky, but sleeping bag for sure.
Well, we love it. We bought a 34-foot travel trailer, I guess about 5 or 6 years ago, and we've taken that thing all over the country.
You just enjoy it?
Oh, we love it. We love it. I'd live in it. If she would say yes, and I know she said she was going to listen to this, but I doubt she will. But if she would say yes, I would get rid of everything and we'd go live in the RV, man. I'd put my motorcycle on the back. I'd pull my little Mini Cooper convertible behind it, and we would be on the road and I wouldn't come back.
Where would you go?
Anywhere that I could drive.
Is it that bad where you are?
No, I live in Tennessee, man. Nashville is an amazing place.
Then why wouldn't you just chill there?
Well, I love being out where you're not connected to the normal, just the normal stuff that we deal with consuming and sitting on a couch and watching television. When I go camping, when we go out in an RV, man, we went to Key West for a couple of weeks back between Thanksgiving and Christmas last year. Made some major life decisions on that trip because we were disconnected from all the things that distract us. And so we went and camped, and we camped and we stayed in the Everglades a couple of nights, which was amazing. The stars in the middle of the Everglades are unlike anything I've ever seen in my life. We camped in Key Largo on the water one night, camped in Key West for a week or two. It's just, you get disconnected from all the things that distract you, and you start paying attention to what really matters.
What really matters to you?
First of all, my wife and my family, they matter to me. My faith matters to me. You know, we talked a lot about this pre-show about following Jesus or Yeshua. Mm-hmm. We talked about that. And I know you talk about that a lot, Yeshua. And I think those are the things that really matter. And then beyond that, it's what my mission is now, to use my gifts of teaching and leadership to help other people get the results they want. So if I can figure out ways to do that when I'm disconnected from the distractions, that's what I want to do. And I want to help other entrepreneurs do the same thing.
And didn't you meet your girl when you were like 15?
Yeah, we met on a blind date. I was 16, she was 15. My best friend was dating her best friend, and they set us up on a blind date. And we dated for about 4 years and got married, and it's been 27 years, man. 27 years. Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's some consistency.
It is. She's my best friend.
That's a rarity nowadays.
It is.
But that's good to hear, because that means there's true love in the world.
There is.
Has it been true love the whole time?
100%.
And you know she's listening.
100%. Well, she's not going to listen to this.
She'll listen now for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I was a pretty bad husband early on. I didn't know.
What does that mean?
Well, I mean, I just didn't treat her with the respect and kindness that I needed to. And
after being a pastor?
Yeah. Well, they didn't teach me how to do that. So I just didn't know what I was doing. Of course, we were 20 and 19. I mean, we were kids.
Well, what kind of, let's break it down a little bit. What kind of things did you do?
Well, I think not paying attention to her needs, not paying attention to her perspective, maybe making too many assumptions. And, being in ministry, we traveled a lot, like from church to church, we moved a lot. And she was such a great sport about it. And, but I think the mature Jason that I am today, looking back then, go, man, that was some dumb stuff. Why did I do that? Why did we do that? Would there have been a better way? But failure is a much better teacher than success. So I'm a better I'm a better husband now because I wasn't a great husband then, right? And it's not like I beat her or abused her.
I know, but I'm trying to get it out. So there's people right now in that same situation. They can avoid having to wait all those years, because you guys might not have made it had you been that big of a douche.
That's correct.
But you made it.
Yeah.
So now it's easy to look back and, say, yeah, I was a jerk back then. But what type of things were you doing? Just not taking her, when you say perspective, taking her perspective, were you just calling the shots or staying out late, not paying attention?
I don't think it was as bad as maybe what I'm characterizing or what you just said, but I think that there were times when I could have been kinder, more gentle, but I wasn't
gentle.
But I didn't go out. I wasn't a partier. It's not like I was out all the time with my bros and not coming home. That wasn't.
Are you really, really gentle now?
Gentle would not be a descriptor that I would use, but gentler.
Yes. In 5 years, are you going to say you could have been gentler today?
No, I think we got it pretty dialed in.
So you're as gentle as they come now?
I think I'm doing all right.
So when you get home, for example, explain or kind of describe what being gentle would look like. You walk in the house, she says, "Hey." Do you say, "Hello, darling"?
No, I don't think it's anything like that.
I've missed you so much.
I think it's just about paying attention to her needs. Paying attention to her needs above your own.
Is it assuming, or is it asking?
I think it's asking.
And listening.
Listening. I have become a much better listener over the past 3 to 5 years. Just generally, not just with her, but with anything. I think that most people that know me know that I'm a pretty good listener now, because I can sit and listen to somebody talk for an hour and not interject if I don't think I need to. So I think that's just been something I learned through entrepreneurship, leadership, and then also being married.
So I have to learn that, because I don't like to listen to nonsense.
You got to hang around with better people.
No, when people walk in, for example, and they want something, I already know pretty much why they're walking in and what they want. And I already know what they're saying, even though they don't have to finish what they're saying for me to understand what they're saying. And so like right in the middle of sometimes what they're trying to say, I just summarize quickly what it is they want. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. You know, and people are like, well, you didn't let him finish. I didn't need to let him finish. I knew exactly what he wanted. I said it in 5 seconds when he would have taken 5 minutes, and I got shit to do. So I don't just sit there and listen. I'm not gentle when it comes to that. Now, my wife, I got to a point for a while which I kind of was seeing if this is where you were going, where I'd be home, but I wasn't really home. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm on my phone, I'm answering tasks. I go outside to talk to somebody and, you know, make deals. And, you know, then I'd come in and watch a little TV and the kids, her, like I was there, but I wasn't really there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think being present is a good thing for all people to practice.
Yeah. Well, like that's not a very good husband. Yeah, so to speak, but I was a good provider. So again, sometimes you have to pick your battles. Like women, you know, they want these dudes always around. Well, guess what, man? You want a rich dude, you better get used to a busy dude. Yeah. You know, unless you take your course and figure out how to live the exit lifestyle where you can hang out and be gentler with your wife.
Well, I think that's a good point because Brad, you know, we get our ideas of what success is from Instagram and TikTok, and we want to drive the fancy cars, and we want to have these huge houses, and we want to have multiple houses, we want to have the jewelry and the watches, and there's nothing wrong with desiring those things, but if they impede if they get in the way of paying attention to the most important relationships, what's it worth? Like at the end of the day, if I end up becoming a billionaire, but I lose my wife in the process and to divorce, if that happens, what's that worth to me? Nothing.
Well, nothing. That's only because you're currently in the relationship. Mm-hmm. If it would have happened, and right now, if you said, I'll lose my wife, but I'll get $1 billion, and let's say it wasn't up to you, and it just happened. Mm-hmm. Okay. You'll be fine. Your life will not be over, you know, and neither will hers. Like that's what one thing a lot of people, when they break up with their loves, they get really depressed. Like there's people listening right now that just got dumped. They're going to be really depressed. And I used to do the same thing. My dad told me when I was little, if you miss the 8:00 bus, the 8:15 will be coming around shortly. So just chill out. Cause I always used to, like, if I broke up with a girl or, you know, it was the end. It was the end. My life would never be the same. I just want my girl. I don't care about $1 billion. I don't care about anything else. I just want to be with my girl. And then if we broke up, it was terrible until my dad said, dude, and he was right. Looking back, dude, I've always, the 8:15 always came around. You know what I mean? And it would for you too. Your wife's not going to like this, but it would for her too. That's the whole thing. Like there's women out there thinking some dude's the only thing in their world and they'll give up anything for that dude. When in reality, I don't even know how I got on this, especially with your 27-year relationship. I'm just talking about listening to the Bomb Squad and the feedback I hear. It's like sometimes they don't know how to get their spouse on the same tune. Yeah. And they're entrepreneurial. And I just tell someone, sometimes you blow them out. And was like, Brad, you can't say that. Hey, I can, because it's the truth. Sometimes you blow them out. You say, hey, this ain't working, because it ain't working. Or you set them down and you say, listen, here's where I want to go in life, right? Do you want to go there too? And if no, I want to be this, I want to do this. Okay, then there's clear 2 different destinations. Who's going to win? You just going to struggle the whole time and end up nowhere? Neither of you? Now you're both unhappy. Why would that be the best way to go?
Well, you better figure that out before you get married.
Well, but a lot of people haven't. Yeah. So right now, what do? Well, in some cases, you need to break up. You need to go your own separate ways and let each of you be happy. Have a discussion. Go see a pastor, go see a counselor. But at the end of the day, it boils down to the real. And the real is, look, I'm going here and I'm not being convinced to go anywhere else. Do you want to go there? Yes. Oh, thank God. Come with me. Okay. Get on. Let's go. help me, and we'll be happily ever after. But if she or he says, I don't want that, I want this, well, who's going to win? Who's going to win that deal? Well, that's where compromise comes in, Brad. You guys have to compromise. Do you? Do you have to compromise? I don't think so. And by the way, this has nothing to do with Jason and his lovely wife. I don't even know where it got on, but it was because you said $1 billion. And I'm like, dude, if you did lose her over $1 billion, you'll probably be okay.
Well,
why? Because you got $1 billion. Well, dude.
So I would, but I see your point, and I can appreciate it, but I don't agree with it because
you love her.
Well, because the main objective in my life is my relationship with her.
That's right.
That's it.
And by the way, that's what I always tell people: don't worry about what other people think. Worry about what you think.
That's right.
So it would be for you, it would be a terrible thing.
Yeah.
And again, I can think to myself, I wouldn't lose my kids for $1 billion. I wouldn't lose my wife for $1 billion. I can make money. I don't need $1 billion. All I'm saying is, for $1 billion, if you did, you'll be okay. That's just the truth. You'll be okay.
Well, I can't argue with you would be okay, but
y'all would be okay. Y'all will be okay.
If your result that you're aiming for is a lifelong relationship with a single individual that you call your wife, anything that interferes with that is not successful.
Yeah, and it's not worth it.
Yeah, because success is getting the results you want. And so the result I want is I want to either see Jesus return or the two of us die together. That's it. I don't want to go any other way. I don't want to live without her.
Yeah, and by the way, folks, a lot of people might feel like that, right? And that to me is the way you should feel, meaning figure out what it is you want, what means the most to you. Forget what society thinks. Forget what all this other people are talking about. Figure out what you want in life, and that is success.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Because success is not just financial, although my formula does have money involved.
Yeah, because time. I think most of us would agree that time is more important than money, but money buys you time. Because time is a non-renewable resource, and money is a renewable resource. You and I could lose money, go make more. We can't lose time and make more. So I always counsel my clients, and I teach my clients and my mastermind members to say, look, trade renewable resources for non-renewable resources. Always. Don't do it the other way. And that's why so many entrepreneurs are trapped, because they're trading time for money. Well, the time you never get back. Once it's spent, it's gone. You don't get it. Money you can get more of. So if you can invest some money into a mastermind, a coach, an advisor, a psychotherapist, whatever it is, to get you more time back in your life, spend the money.
Well, sure, because that's what it boils down to. Because when you talk to rich people when they're dying, their money's not what's important to them. It's the relationships that they're most sad about. Like when you die, you're not mad because you're leaving behind all your kick-ass stuff and your beautiful homes. You're sad because you're leaving your wife and your kids and your friends, and you know what I mean? It's always relationships that trump money.
Yeah.
Which is why in my book I wrote a whole chapter that's relationships over money. I say this: if you choose money over relationships, soon you'll have neither.
I think that's very wise. Hit the bomb button. Well,
now your wife's going to be pissed because I was insinuating that you'll be fine and she'll be fine, and I was advocating breaking up, which I don't advocate breaking up. I get a lot of people making comments on these like, listen, I don't advocate breaking up. What I advocate is common sense. And sometimes just because you got married does not mean you have to live the rest of your life miserable.
Yep. I think that's why premarital counseling is so important for people. They don't do it. They just get married and they don't give any consideration to that decision of who you marry is the most influential and important decision of your entire life, because that decision will affect everything forever. Your kids, where you live, your family, your friends, your income. That decision of who you marry is the most important decision of your life. So I've got my son will be 22 next week. I got a 22-year-old son. I got a 19-year-old daughter. And I try to tell them, listen, that decision of who you marry is the most important decision. You better make that one right. So get once you decide, okay, this is the person, you better go get some premarital counseling. Sit down with somebody and work through. When I did premarital counseling as a pastor, I remember telling people at our first session Now, I always said this, and they always looked at me like I was crazy. I said, my job throughout this process of premarital counseling before you guys get married is to convince you that you shouldn't get married. And if I can't do that, then you should get married. Because I'm going to try to get you guys to the place where you go, you know what, this ain't going to work. And if I do that, I've saved you guys years of heartache and grief. Now, I wasn't trying to break them up, but you get my point. I wanted to make, like, I had this book that I used that had, I don't know, 150 questions about things like, okay, what would you do if you won the lottery? And then I'd ask her, no comments from him, and then I'd ask him. And they didn't get to think about it. They got to answer it live. What would you do if you had a kid with Down syndrome? How would you handle that? What would happen if you went bankrupt? What would happen if a tornado took your house? What would happen if
you were asking life questions?
Yes. And if they said, well, no, I wouldn't do that. Or who should do the grocery shopping? Who's vacuuming? Who's in charge of when you have sex? Like, we get down to those types of questions. Does
there have to be someone in charge of it?
There's always someone in charge. And I think you and I both know who's in charge. But you ask those questions and you see how they answer it. And there will be times when the husband or the wife will look, or the fiance will look at the other person and go, I wouldn't do that at all. That's dumb. Why would you do that? You think that? How many kids do you want? I want 8. I want 2. Okay, that's a big problem. So you got to work through that first. I think making that decision is the most important decision. And that's why with my clients, like, I don't coach the wives. My system is mainly for men, especially the mastermind. But the wives are involved. They come to my retreats and we speak into their lives and say, hey, this is what it looks like to be married to someone who is a hard charging, driven founder, entrepreneur. You need to be supportive of that. And he also needs to support you and your needs to make sure he's not leaving you alone. He's at the office all the time. It's a big part of that.
Well, communication is key.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, one time I was doing that. I was home, but I wasn't home. So I just went home, canceled my schedule for a week, scooped them up, flew them to Disneyland. They love Disneyland. You know, rented a big old suite and just stayed at Disneyland and stared in their eyes and was gentle. I was gentle with them for like 10 days straight, as gentle as they come, you know, phone off, you know, long gazes into their eyes, laughter, running through the field of daisies in slow motion,
holding hands,
all that. And it worked. You know, it basically rejuvenated the relationship a little bit. And it's because, dude, most people don't recognize that. And what happens is they come home and your wife is, you know, banging a neighbor or, you know, doing something because, you know, they don't communicate. So it's like, if more couples just communicated and told the truth, like, they don't want to tell the truth. They want to protect feelings. So again, like, you're going to hurt the feelings eventually if you don't just tell the truth. So if I'm not a pastor or a counselor, but if couples came to me in trouble, I would just say, you guys just need to tell the truth and then see where that leads. You know, the truth is, hey, I want to bang a bunch of other girls. Well, if that's the truth, you know, number one, good thing that you said it, right? Now it gives somebody the ability to decide whether or not that's acceptable.
Yeah.
Because if it's not, and you're just going to deal with that for 3 or 4 years, who knows what could happen, dude? You could end up dead. You could end up freaking in a love triangle and, you know, end up in prison. Like, wouldn't it be better just to know the truth? Hey, your girl doesn't like you anymore. The question is how do you get them to re-like you? You know, how do you get them to fall back in love with you after long ass time? Because that's hard to do sometimes.
Well, I think part of that too, man, is that not leaving yourself an out. You know, I think the old burn the ships analogy, you know, that we've heard that. Everybody's heard the burn the ships. When they arrived on shore, they burned the ships. So there's no way out. There's no plan B here. We have to make this work. My wife and I made a decision when we got married 27 years ago that we would never mention divorce, use the word divorce, joke about it. It's not an option for us. Where I have friends who in mixed company would say, yeah, my wife would divorce me if I did this. We don't make those jokes because we know that's not an option. So we burn the ship. We burn the ships. That option is not on the table for us. So when we have fights, which we do, like when we get upset with each other, we make sure that is not an option. We got to make this work. This is we're ride or die, even above the kids, man. Like, the kids know they're second in this whole thing. Like, if I got to make a choice, I'm making the choice of my wife, not the kids. The kids will figure it out. They'll go on their own. Now I've got my kids' names tattooed on my arms, not my wife's name tattooed on my arm. I know you got your wife's name tattooed, but like she could pass away and I have to, I might get married again, but the kids are my kids forever. But the decision I've made is for her. Like the kids are the kids biologically, but the decision I've made is with her, and she is number one, 100%. So we burn the ships. There's no way out.
Well, maybe that's how you got to do it then.
Yeah, that's the way we did it, and it seems to be working.
if you're both blissfully happy.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, there are times when we don't like each other, but we get along all right. We do good. I called her before I came over here.
Does she get involved with all this or no?
She's not an entrepreneur at all. There are people that aren't entrepreneurs, and she's just one of those that is not. So she's extremely supportive, and she's been a great help throughout the process of me building companies and watching me succeed, watching me fail. I mean, we've had some failures, some companies that didn't work out right, some partnership issues didn't go, close to bankruptcy at one point. I mean, she's been there to be supportive, but she's not the entrepreneur. We don't, I'm in the process of purchasing a motorcycle dealership, and the idea there would be for her to be involved on the day-to-day, like as an employee.
Does she
but not
want to
a
be?
Partner. Yeah, she hasn't worked outside the home in a long, long time. Like she's content to stay home and manages the house. Our daughter still lives with us.
That's the hardest job ever.
Yeah, so she's been content, but she's getting, I guess, restless in that because our daughter now she's 19. She's got 3 jobs. She's gone all the time. Our son doesn't live with us anymore, so there's not as much to do.
You're empty nesters.
Kinda. We're almost there. And we're young. We're pretty young for that. So, but yeah, she wants to get back into something, and I think if the motorcycle dealership actually goes through, because you never know what's going to happen in an acquisition, but she's probably going to help out. And she's looking forward to that. Gives her something to do. She wants to do it. But as far as ownership decisions, entrepreneurial decisions, that's not her thing. She's not interested.
Don't you have a book coming out?
Yeah, it's called The Exit Lifestyle. I'm in the process of doing final edits on it right now. It should be out hopefully this summer. And it's all about what is the exit lifestyle, what does it look like, and what are the core principles that you have to embrace in order to live that lifestyle.
Well, what are they?
So we talked about it a little bit before. The first one's embrace delegation.
Got it.
And the second one is eliminate stress, which we haven't talked about that one. So eliminating stress is a key to living the exit lifestyle, because if you can't exit the daily operations without feeling stressed about it, you're never going to succeed at it. Your company will be stressed. You'll be stressed. So I teach this method about how to eliminate stress, and it's completely eliminated stress from my life. And those that I teach to do it, if they embrace it, it eliminates stress. It's pretty killer. The third one is establish systems and processes, which we talked about. And the fourth one is invest in people. I think you've got to really understand that investments is when you put out money, time, or resources with the expectation of a profitable return. And so when you pull an employee into your circle of influence, they're an investment. They're not a tool. They're not a cog in the wheel. They're an investment. If they can't bring back friends with them, meaning if I put $1, I need that $1 to bring friends back. If they can't do that, then that's not good. That's one side of the investment. But the other side is the emotional and psychological investment in an employee, training them, making them feel worthy, like they're heard, they have a place in this, that they're growing something bigger than themselves, not just somebody doing your bidding. So those 4 principles, delegation, stress, systems, processes, and then investing in people, are the 4 things that I teach in my Business Accelerator program. And then also, once you get into the mastermind, the Exeter Club, that's where we start living that stuff out. And that's where my guys are really learning, how do I actually do this? How do I do that? How do I make it delegation? How do I invest in someone? I teach people how to hire the right people, how to scan people's resumes, which is really worthless, to get down to the nitty gritty. I've got this interview technique I call interview by numbers. You might be interested in this. So over the last 10 years, I've collected interview questions from my entrepreneur friends. Like, what question do you ask in an interview? Not like, where'd you go to school or what do you want to do in life, but what'd you eat for breakfast?
You know what I ask?
What do you ask? Because I want to know the questions.
All right. Well, let me hear your questions.
So let me tell you how this goes. So I've collected, and there's 72 questions, and there some of them are like, what's your ideal vacation look like? Others like, what did you have for breakfast and why'd you choose that? Do you set an alarm? What does a vacation mean? It's 72 questions. And I do this interview by numbers. So I tell the person when I'm interviewing them. Say, hey, I've got 72 questions I want to ask you today. And of course, their eyes get really big. I said, but I'm not going to ask them all, and you're going to pick which ones I ask. So pick a number between 1 and 72. And they pick a number, and I've got the sheet, and I read whatever number that is. If they pick number 13, I say, well, why'd you pick 13? It tells me how they think about why they pick numbers. And then I ask the question, and then I just make a couple of notes of why they answered, how they answered it. And I go through 5 or 6 of those, and that tells me everything I need to know if they're going to fit in the culture, because culture fit is more important than technical or skill fit. And I think we all would agree on that.
I would, yeah.
So what's your question? What do you ask?
I ask people if they feel like they're lucky.
That's a great question.
I always say, do you think you're lucky? And if they don't say yes, I don't hire them.
Really?
I'm not hiring somebody that walks around with a black cloud over their head.
Okay, I see your point. Yeah, I see what you mean.
I'm one of the luckiest people alive. Like, dude, I am so lucky, it's unbelievable.
Well, you got a pretty sweet setup, man.
Well, I mean, I'm just lucky. Like, I'm a lucky son of a gun.
Well, the harder you work.
Well, I don't care. All the cliches in the world put together doesn't equal someone who, when you say, do you feel lucky? They say no. I've literally had people say, no, not necessarily.
And you're like,
and
next?
No, I say, well, do you feel unlucky? They're like, I've had some unlucky things happen to me.
Uh-oh.
And I just go, oh, okay. Next.
Here's another unlucky thing. Please get out of my office.
I ain't here to change your luck, some bitches. I'm here to freaking win. And you need the right people and the right fit to win.
Yep.
And dude, if you're going to be around me, you need to be positive. Mm-hmm. You need to be optimistic. You need to be hopeful. Yeah. You need to be able to see vision. You need to be able to believe. You need to have faith. You need to just like freaking be upbeat and motivated. I'm not here to freaking upbeat and motivate people. Like, I want everybody around me upbeat and motivated too.
Yeah.
So when I walk in, maybe I need to be upbeat and motivated a little. So if everybody around you is freaking upbeat, positive, in that lucky, positive mindset, it helps the momentum very.
Yeah, well,
greatly.
the culture of your company is more important than just about anything else. You could have great people that know how to do their jobs, but if they're jerks, they don't fit in, if they smell, like whatever, like if they can't fit, it's not worth it. I teach.
You won't hire smelly people?
I do not. I've actually had very uncomfortable conversations with an employee that I didn't realize had the issue. And I'd pulled him in the office like, dude, like, you're doing a good job, but like, we got to figure this out. And new deodorant, like, I don't know what's going on. And there was I got this gland issue. Like, dude, you got to figure that out, man. You're a salesperson. You can't, that's not going to work. You can't smell when you're sitting down trying to pitch $1 million project. It's not going to work. You can't do that. And, it's the culture thing is so important. I even do I did this when I was running the company full time, and I teach my clients to do this, is do a culture fit interview. So there's this process, a 10-step process, and part of it is bringing that potential candidate in after you've pretty much decided, yeah, they're good, I like them, they could do the job, they fit, at least from my perspective, but let me let the team interview them. And we'll bring the team in for 30 minutes. I'll bring in maybe 10 or 12 team members, set them down at the conference table with this new person. And everybody in the room gets one question. I don't screen the questions, and it could be any question. I don't, obviously it's got to be appropriate. Don't ask them stupid stuff that has nothing to do with it, or inappropriate questions. And they'll go around and ask questions, and then you see how this person responds. And then when they ask all their questions, I get the candidate. All right, you can ask 2 questions of the team, like generally or specific, go. And you just watch that happen, and I'll tell you real quick whether they're going to fit. And if they can't make it through that, they ain't going to make it. They ain't going to make it at all.
Another good one. Yeah, these hiring techniques, you should write a book on those.
Well, it's part of
a lot of people get that wrong.
Well, it'll be part of the book, The Exit Lifestyle, that I'm writing, but I don't go into great detail on it. But in my coaching program, and especially in the mastermind, we dig deep into what that looks like. How do you
can't go too deep. It's only 8 weeks long.
Well, in the mastermind, I mean, it's a year-long commitment, maybe more, multi-year if you want to stay in longer. But, we go deep into how do you, what are you dealing with struggling to hire people? Where are you putting your ads? What do your ads look like? I mean, I teach people how to write an ad. Like, how do you copyright an ad that people will remember? I got a guy that works for me. His name is Brock. He's worked for me for, 8 years. He's number 1 sales guy. And he will tell you to this day, he remembers the ad that he read on LinkedIn. He's like, it was different than everything else I read. And I said, so I teach my class, like, look, just the little stuff, man. Just quit saying, well, we're a growth-oriented company that pays competitive wages. No, nobody cares about that stuff. What about you? Like, hey, man, I started this company as an unemployed school teacher, and I'm just trying to make this work. We built something pretty special. We're looking for family people, team members to come in and have fun. Like that, people remember. And you got to write an ad for that. So that invest in people, that fourth core principle is a huge one, because people are going to be there when you're gone. You got to make sure they're running it.
Okay, and then last but not least, this exit lifestyle. Describe it.
So I want you to think about the day, maybe not the day, the month or two after you've sold your company for whatever that number is for you. The financially independent number. Everybody's got a different number. For some people, it's $1 million. Others, it's $1 billion. Well, whatever that number is, what does your life look like after that? Like, what are you doing?
Bliss.
Okay, where are you? Where do you live? Where do you go on vacation?
3 different places.
Okay, where do you go on vacation? What cars are you driving? What leisure activities are you doing?
Do you write it all down?
Well, I think that helps, certainly. You think about all the stuff that you would do after the sale. Now, a version of that can be obtained today without selling the company if you learn how to exit without exiting. If you learn how to set up the embrace delegation, if you learn how to set up the eliminating stress, if you do the processes and systems, if you invest in people the right way, you can step away and live a version of that today with a long-term passive income from the company that you built. Now you're an owner-investor, not the owner-operator.
Plus your company's worth more.
Exactly. So when I did that, I stepped away in January 2020. We all know what happened in 2020. Now, if I was able to do that in 2020 and successfully make that exit without exiting happen, can't you do it? Can't you do it? Now, could I have stayed in and built a bigger company, made more money? Maybe, perhaps, but I'm living the lifestyle that I want. And that's the important thing, because as you said, at the end of our life, we're not going to wish we'd have spent more time at the office and made more money. We're going to wish we'd have gone on more vacations in the RV with your wife. We're going to wish that we spent more time with our kids. We'd have wish, I don't have grandkids, but wish we'd spent more time with the grandkids. Wish we'd have gone and seen that national park that we never got to see. That lifestyle can be achieved today. It's called the exit lifestyle, and I'll show you how to do it.
Sounds pretty intriguing.
Come on.
If you're listening to this and you guys are like, hey, dude, I want to do this, get a hold of him at therealjasonduncan.com. Join his mastermind. Tell him you heard it from the Bomb Squad so he sends me some dough.
That's right.
Help support your local Bomb Squad show. Hey, and by the way, if you do want to take action and have Jason help you, go to therealjasonduncan.com/bombs. Bombs, that's plural. Yeah, buddy. Jason, I appreciate you flying all the way out here just to hang with old BL.
It's been a pleasure, man. I appreciate you. You came to Nashville to be on my show, and we had met one time prior to that, and you came out to be on the show, and you say, hey, man, I'd love to have you on the show. And, I was waiting for the right time, and today's the right time, and I'm just honored. Thank you. This has been a treat.
Well, you're even thinking about doing an event. So guys, go follow him on social media. One of these days he'll do an event. He'll bring in a lot of these people he's helped as testimonials, and a lot of thought leaders, people in this field, to where if you're out there struggling with your business, or you're kicking ass, but you don't have any time to enjoy it, dude, I'm telling you, might be worthwhile to stop, sit back, and learn how to exit without exiting. And until next time, as always, keep it real.
Dropping bombs with the real Bradley. Subscribe now.